All right, so Unit 1 review. Number 1, we have our x. It's being multiplied by a fraction and subtracted by 11. We need to get rid of the 11 first. So we're going to add 11 to both sides. That cancels. I have 5, 6x equals 11 plus 9, 20. Now, the way to undo being multiplied by a fraction is multiply by the reciprocal, because they cancel each other out. There's two ways to go about this. If you have a calculator, it's not that big of a deal. You do 6 times 20 and then divide by 5. Or, keep the number smaller, 5 goes into 24 times, and 4 times 6 is 24. Again, if you're using the calculator to verify your work, 6 times 20 divided by 5, not a big deal. But whichever way you're most comfortable with, go ahead. Number 2, similar problem. Going to start off by subtracting the 8 from both sides. That gives me 7/3 x equals 2 minus 8 is negative 6. In this case, I want to multiply by 3/7, the reciprocal. When I do that, this side cancels out, leaving me x. On this side, I get 6 times 3, negative 18 over 7, and that's as far as I can go. You know, if I wanted to, I could write this as negative 2 and 4/7, but either one is fine. Now, number 3, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do this, whatever works best for you. One way is to distribute the fraction, okay? And if you do that, 3 times 8 is 24, divided by 4 is 6, so 6x. Minus 3 times 12 is 36, divided by 4 is 9, equals 27. I'm going to add 9. That's going to give me 6x equals 27 plus 9 is 36. Divided by 6, I get my answer of 6. That is one way to go about the problem. Another way, we got our 3/4 8x minus 12 equals 27. Another way is just like the previous problem. Imagine this was just 3/4 x. Instead of a parentheses, it was just 3/4 x. What did we do? We multiplied by the reciprocal on both sides. When we did that, we were just left with our x. In this case, we're left with 8x minus 12. And on this side, 27 times 4 divided by 3, or more easily, 3 goes into 27 9 times. 9 times 4 is 36. Then when we add 12, 8x equals 48. Divide by 8, well, look at that. We get the same answer. So just 2 different ways of thinking about it. It's up to you which you want to do. Okay? Same thing here. And the reason I know it works is this 4 is a factor of 8 and 12. Okay? So I could multiply it, and it's going to simplify pretty easily. Just like this 3 goes into 6 and 3. So it's going to end up nicely when I distribute the 8/3. But if I multiply it by the reciprocal, I get rid of it. So it's up to you what you're most comfortable with. So I'm going to do it both ways again. I'm going to distribute this 8/3 first. 3 goes into 6 2 times. Times 8 is 16. 3 goes into 3 once. Times 8 is 8. I'm going to subtract 8 and get 0. Divide by 16, I get 0. Now once more, if I wanted to, instead of doing that, if I wanted to multiply by 3 over 8 over here, and 3 over 8 over here, look what happens. I get 6x plus 3 equals 3. Then I subtract 3 and I get 6x equals 0, x equals 0. So whatever works for you, whatever you're most comfortable with, do it. All right. Here, I've got to get rid of that 12 first because the entire quantity is being divided by 12. So I need to multiply both sides by 12. That's going to give me b minus 4 equals 36. Then when I add 4, I simply get 40. Same thing here. I got to get rid of that 9 first. Leave the 5 alone. X plus 5 equals 27. Then when I subtract, I get 22. 7 and 8. I'm trying to solve for h. Notice though I have h's on both sides, which means I need to get h's on one side and x's on the other. So it doesn't matter which way you go. I'm going to add 3h to both sides. That's going to give me 5x. 3h minus 1h is 2h equals 2x. Now I subtract 5x. 2 h's is equal to negative 3x. But I want 1h, so I'm going to divide by 2, and that gives me h equals negative 3x over 2, or negative 3 halves x. Two different ways of writing the same thing. Next one, I'm solving for y. So I have y's on both sides. So I'm going to subtract 10y this time. And in this case, if you want, if you're comfortable with it, you can move the m at the same time, whatever's best for you. So number 7, I did it in baby steps. Number 8, I did it in the same line. It's up to you. So here I'm going to cancel those. 7y minus 10y is negative 3y. And on this side, if I borrow $8 and I borrow $1, I'm in debt $9. Now I just divide by negative 3. So y is equal to negative 9 divided by negative 3 is positive 3m. Okay. Next page. Solve and write the answer in notation, interval notation, and also graph it. So I need to get y's on both sides. Okay. Now, remember, with inequalities, if I multiply or divide by a negative, I have to flip the symbol. So, I'm actually going to do this two different ways to show you how you kind of want to think ahead and see what you want to do. So first way, I'm going to move the 9y over to the left. Okay? So when I do that, I'm going to subtract 9y. All right? So the 4 is going to stay. Negative 7y minus 9y is negative 16y. Less than or equal to just the negative 6. Now I'm going to subtract the 4 and get negative 16y is still less than or equal to negative 6 over 4. Now to get rid of the negative 16, all right. Sorry, my bad. I made a mistake there. I wasn't dividing, I was supposed to subtract. So minus 6 minus 4 is negative 10. To get rid of the negative 16, I'm going to divide by negative 16. When I do that, as soon as my brain says, or my lips say, divide by negative, I need to remember to flip the symbol. So y is greater than, I'm going to reduce this right here, positive, negative divided by negative, and 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 16 8 times. So y is greater than or equal to 5/8. Now, another way I could have done it was move my y's over here and keep them positive. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to keep the 4 here. I'm going to add 7y to both sides. So 9 plus 7 is positive 16y minus 6. Now I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Same thing I did over there, just different order, different signs. And that's going to give me positive 10 and 16y. But notice, y is still greater than or equal to, okay, it's on the greater than side. The number, if I read this, it's 10 less than or equal to 16y. So now when I divide, I get 5/8 is less than or equal to y, which is the same thing if I read it from the y. If I read this way, y is greater than or equal to 5/8. So I'm just going to put my 5/8 here. I don't need any reference numbers. If you want to put a 0, you can. It's up to you. Greater than or equal means a solid dot. And greater than or equal means going towards positive infinity. And let's put that in interval notation. It said to write it, so let's write that down here. 5/8 towards positive infinity. I use a bracket because it was a solid number. Sorry, a solid dot. Okay, number 10. This time I'm only going to do it once, but I just want to remind you, you could do it either way. I'm going to move the 2x over here and keep it positive. Okay, so if I subtract 2x, that's going to give me 6x plus 12 is greater than or equal to 6. I'm going to subtract 12. That's going to give me 6x is greater than or equal to 6 minus 12 is negative 6. Now I'm going to divide by 6. Now, even though I'm dividing negative 6, I don't flip the symbol because I'm dividing by a positive number. So that gives me x is greater than or equal to negative 1. So when I do it in interval notation, it's going to be a bracket again because it's greater than or equal, and it's going towards positive infinity. When I graph it, simply put negative 1, solid dot, towards positive infinity. All right, now absolute value. Remember, most of the time, you're going to get 2 answers. Okay? You might only get 1, but that's only if it's equal to 0. Okay? So if this is equal to any number greater than 0, you're going to have 2 answers. Remember that. Now, this one's simple because the absolute value is already by itself, unlike number 13. Since it is by itself, we can go ahead and write our 2 problems. 4x plus 4 is equal to 20, just the way we see it. And then 4x plus 4 is equal to negative 20. And then I just solve. For space, I'm not going to show the baby steps. I subtract 4. 4x, 20 minus 4 is 16. Divide by 4, x equals 4. Subtract 4. When I do that, though, negative 20 minus 4 is negative 24. Now when I divide, I get negative 6. And you can just write it like that, or you can use braces and put 4 comma negative 6. All right, and otherwise order doesn't really matter, but a lot of people will put it in numerical order. Either way, any one of those 3 answers is perfectly fine. I prefer this one if you're going to do it in braces, just because it keeps you in line with interval notation, keeping the negative on the left side, but it's not a rule. All right, number 12. Again, this is by itself, so I'm ready to go. 6x plus 3 equals 18, and 6x plus 3 equals negative 18. I subtract 3. 6x equals 18 minus 3 is 15. Divide by 6. X is 15 over 6. Also known as 3 goes in 5 times, 3 goes in 2 times, 5 halves. Over here, when I subtract 3, I'm going to get negative 21. Negative 18 minus 3, negative 21. This time I'm going to get negative 21 over 6, or 3 goes in 7 times, 3 goes in 2 times. And again, this is perfectly fine just writing it like that, or if you want to use braces, you can do it like that. Now remember, we said that you usually get two answers, okay? If the number on the right side is 0, then you're going to get one answer. And if this number over here is negative, you're going to get 0 answers because there's no solution. Like in this case, if I divide by -4, okay, I'm going to get 2x plus 6 equals -4. At that point, I do not do this. Do not do this. You don't write that and then write the opposite. That's a big no-no. As soon as you see this alone by itself is equal to a negative number, the answer is no solution. Okay, number 14, I'm going to switch up a bit. I'm going to make this negative. -14. Now, if you see -14 and you go, oh, no solution, you're wrong. Because you cannot make that decision until this is by itself, and it's not. We need to divide by -2. And look what happens. We get 6x minus 5, absolute value, equals +7. So in this case, since I had to divide by negative, that turned it positive, I can do this problem. 6x minus 5 equals 7. 6x minus 5 equals -7. I'm going to add 5 and get 12. X is 2. I'm going to add 5 and get -2. X is -2/6, or 1/3. So remember, if it ends up being negative, it's no solution. Just because it starts off negative doesn't mean anything until the absolute value is by itself. Okay, now we have inequalities. So the first thing we got to look at this, we got to get rid of this -3 and the +4. The +4 is addition, so we're going to subtract. -3, absolute value, x minus 3, is less than or equal to, subtract 4, doesn't flip the symbol, -12. Now, this -3, I will see a lot of people say +3. The -3 is being multiplied by that absolute value. Oh, another thing, remember, you cannot distribute that -3 inside an absolute value. It's not parentheses. Okay? No one gets in. So I have to divide by -3. When I do that, I get absolute value of x minus 3 is greater than or equal to +4. Why greater than? Because I divided by a negative. So I flip the symbol. Now at this point, now remember, now I can look at this and say it's a greater than. Or, it's going to be an or statement, which means it should go this way and that way. So I write two things, x minus 3 greater or equal to 4, and x minus 3. Now when I change this to a -4, I've got to flip the symbol. We'll come back to that. So over here when I add 3, I get x is greater than or equal to 7. And over here, when I add 3, I get x is less than or equal to -1. So I put -1 here, I put 7 here. Less than or equal to -1, greater than or equal to 7. Boom. That's a proper OR. Let's say, just for discussion, that I forgot to flip this symbol here when I turn that 4 negative. I would have had x greater than or equal to 1, which means I would have had this situation. And then if you look here, what am I doing? I'm dabbing. Both arrows going the same direction. That's a big no-no. You never want to dab when you're graphing. It's either going to look like this or like this. Never two arrows in the same direction. Number 16. First thing again, we got to get rid of that 4 by addition. So I'm going to have 2 absolute value x minus 2 less than or equal to add 4 plus 2 is 6. Divide by 2. Absolute value of x minus 2 is still less than or equal to 3 because I divided by a positive number. Now I'm ready to bust it up into 2 problems. X minus 2, x minus 2. I want 3 and negative 3. This stays the same. This flips. Again, if I don't flip that, I will end up with a dab instead of what I should have on this one, less than. It's an and statement, so I should have something that looks like that. So when I do this, I add 2 to both sides. X is less than or equal to 5. And x is greater than or equal to negative 1. So how's that going to look on my graph? Negative 1, 5. Again, they're both going to be solid dots. Greater than or equal to negative 1, less than 5 is in between. And once again, if you did not flip that symbol, you would have had less than or equal to 5 and less than or equal to 1, and you would have been dabbing, and that's a no-no. Number 17. Now, with this one, remember, I have 2 separate things going on. There's 2 ways to do this. You can write it as 2 separate problems, and some people need to do this for a comfort level, and that's fine. Okay, that's 1. And then you rewrite it as 4 minus 1/2 y less than 10. And then you would just do the 2 separate problems. If you need to do that for comfort level, that's fine. You're going to get the same answer that you see over here. Now what I like to do is put some bars here to remind myself that I have 3 places. Okay. Now, when you see this 4 minus 1/2, some people go, oh, I should add 4 because there's a minus there. No, the 4 is positive. So I'm still going to subtract 4 here, here, and here, which I would do over here also. It's just I'd have to do it 4 times. Okay? No big deal. Now when I do that, the 4's cancel here. I get negative 12 on this side, still less than or equal. I'm left with a negative 1/2 y, and less than 10 minus 4 is 6. Now how do I get rid of that negative 1/2? I multiply by the reciprocal, negative 2 over 1. And as soon as I do that, my brain should be telling me to flip these symbols immediately. And that's going to be 24 over here and negative 12 over here. And I would have gotten the same answer if I did it as 2 separate problems. Now, with interval notation, let's go to the graph first, because sometimes that's easier. Here's negative 12. Here's 24. It's less than or equal to 24. So solid dot, and it's going to go this way. It's greater than open dot, negative 12, which means it's going to go that way, which means I have an in-between. Okay? So my notation is very simple. There's no infinities here. It's just between those 2 numbers, solid dot bracket, open dot parentheses. Okay, same idea. I'm going to put my bars here. I'm going to subtract 3 in all 3 places. That's going to give me negative 7 over here, greater than or equal, or less than or equal, negative 1/3 y, less than 15 minus 3 is 12. What do I do here? I'm going to multiply by negative 3. The reciprocal of negative 1/3. When I do that, immediately these symbols flip. I'm left with y in the middle. This is positive 21. And this is negative 36. Again, I think it's easier to go to the graph first. Put my negative on this side, 21 on this side. If it helps put 0, go ahead. Now with this one, it is also an in-between, like so. All right? And that means it's going to be between negative 36 and 21, parentheses, bracket. Find the slope. Now remember, you can do this two different ways. You can go this direction, okay, which means you would do, remember, it's y minus y, yum-yums on the picnic table. So that's 5 minus, be careful, it's a negative 4. If I'm going left to right, that would be negative 4 minus negative 8. But you can go the other direction if you want. If you want to go this way, you could do negative 4 minus 5 and negative 8 minus negative 4. So let's see what happens here. Whenever we subtract a negative, remember, we're going to get some positive numbers there. So 5 plus 4 is 9, and 8 minus 4 is 4. Over here, if I did negative 4 minus 5, I would have gotten negative 9 over negative 4, but guess what? That becomes positive 9/4, same answer. All right, so going this direction, I'm going to have negative 1 minus negative 4. Very careful here with those double negatives. And 6 minus negative 2. Otherwise, I could have done negative 4 minus negative 1 and negative 2 minus 6. So I'm going to come through and make all of these plus and come back and do the problem. So over here, 4 minus 1 is 3, and 6 plus 2 is 8. Over here, 1 minus 4 is negative 3, and this would be negative 8. But again, what happens here? Still positive 3/8. The only thing that matters is you're consistent. Start with the same point. I suggest you underline it or circle it or draw an arrow which way you're going. You don't have to do it both ways, but you have the ability to go either direction. All right, find the slope and intercept of these equations. Well, this is in standard form. A is in standard form. Therefore, I can do the cover-up method because 3 and 6 both go into 24. Okay? But the problem is that won't give me the slope. So I'm going to have to turn it into that form anyway, but for right now, I'm just going to do the cover-up method. So if I cover up 3x, okay, I basically put in a 0 for x. What do I get for y? Negative 6, positive 4. Okay? If I cover up the y, that means I'm putting a 0 in for y and trying to find out what x is. Divide by 3, I get negative 8. So those are my two intercepts. But to find the slope, I still need to do slope-intercept form. So I'm going to start off by subtracting 3x. Now remember, when you do this, be careful. Always write the x first, then the number. Now when I divide by negative 6, I get y is equal to negative 3 over negative 6 is positive 1/2 x plus 4. So my slope is 1/2. And notice my plus 4, my y-intercept. That confirms. Okay? Next one, same concept. To do this, we need to do it in y-intercept form, slope-intercept form, but it's very easy here because 2 and 4 both go into 20. I'm going to do the cover-up method. So I'm going to cover up x, which means putting in a 0 for x and finding out y. 20 divided by 2 is 10. Then I'm going to cover up y, which means I'm putting a 0 in for y and finding my x. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Now I need to put in slope-intercept form. I'm going to subtract 4x, so 2y is equal to negative 4x plus 20. Divide by 2, y is equal to negative 2x plus 10. Again, my y-intercept. What is my slope? Negative 2. Moving on. All right, number 21. Given M and an ordered pair. So we're given a point and we're given slope. Maybe point slope form? All right, which is A. So remember, the form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to plug those numbers in. So again, this is my x, this is my y, this is my m. So y minus y, which is 3, equals negative 6 over 5 times x minus, careful here, negative 10. So my point slope form is y minus 3 equals negative 6 over 5, x plus 10 simplified. Now for slope-intercept form, I'm just going to continue the work. I'm going to multiply, send this in, and get y minus 3 equals negative 6 over 5x. Now remember, this is really a plus here, but I'm multiplying by negative 6 over 5. So 6 times 10 is 60. Okay? Divided by 5 is 12. It's going to be minus 12. Then I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So I'm going to get, for slope-intercept form, y equals negative 6 over 5, x minus 9. 22. Find the slope going between these 2 points. Okay, I'm only going to do it once this time. So I'm going to do this direction. So that's going to be 6 minus 8 and negative 3 minus negative 4. Immediately I'm going to turn that into plus. So my slope is negative 2 over 1. Okay? Or just negative 2. Either one of these answers is fine. Slope-intercept form. Okay? Well, I know my slope. Okay? But I need my y-intercept. So you have 2 choices here. You can just pick either point. Y equals mx plus b. We're trying to find this, so just pick a point. I'm going to pick this one. So my y is 6, my m is negative 2, and my x is negative 3 plus b. So 6 equals 6 plus b, b equals 0. Oh, that's easy. So my slope-intercept form is y equals negative 2x, technically plus 0, but that's all you have to write. Point slope form, again, pick a point. I'm just going to use the same one. So y minus my y equals negative 2 times x minus my x. Simplify it. Y minus 6 equals negative 2 x plus 3. Now, if you would have used the other point, I'm not going to go through the steps of doing it. If you would have used the other point, you would have ended up with y minus 8 equals negative 2 x plus 4. And that would have just been plugging in the other point. So either one of these answers is correct. And in standard form, well, basically we're just going to go back to y-intercept and move this bad boy over. 2x plus y equals 0. We're done. 23. Same thing, just more of the same, more practice. So here we go. Slope, I'm going to go this direction this time, just for the heck of it. So I'm going to start off with negative 4 minus 4, and 6 minus negative 4 again. Boom. So negative 4 minus 4 is negative 8 over 10, or reduce negative 4 over 5. Slope-intercept form. Okay. Y equals m, negative 4 fifths, x plus b. I'm going to substitute in my y and my x. So y, I'm going to take the same point, negative 4. 4 fifths times x, which is 6, plus b. Okay. So when I do this, I get negative 4 equals 24 over 5 plus b. Okay. Now, it gets kind of nasty here because I need to change this, have common denominators. Okay. So this is really negative 20 over 5, right? I apologize, my slope is negative. Don't forget that. So now I'm going to add 24 fifths to both sides, which is going to give me 4 fifths over here equals b. So my slope-intercept is y equals negative 4 fifths x plus positive 4 fifths. My point slope form, I can take either point. I'm just going to take the same one I've been using. So y minus my y, which is negative 4, equals m, negative 4 fifths, x minus 6. So that simplifies to y plus 4 equals negative 4 fifths, x minus 6. And if I would have done used the other point, it would have simply been y minus 4 equals negative 4 fifths, x plus 4. So either one of those would have been appropriate, depending on which point you used. And then standard form, I'm just going to come up here and multiply everything by 5. Okay, so it's going to give me 5y equals negative 4x plus 4. And then when I move this bad boy over, it's going to give me 4x plus 5y equals 4. That's my standard form. And then the good news, you do not have to worry about doing 24 or 25. Okay? That's it. We're done.